And Gus, you spoke to Darren Lockyer in our coverage of 9 Sunday Footy yesterday about just that too. One thing is the money, but was he concerned that perhaps the situation at the Broncos at the moment played a role in him finalising that decision? Did you feel like the Broncos have conceded as much?
Well, as I said, there was a time in our game where no player would have ever thought leaving a powerhouse club like the Broncos to go down the road for the Gold Coast. No money would have let you do that because you're a chance of winning a premiership. You're getting the best. You're in the best club with the best coaching, the best resources. But to see a marquee player like this at this age just walk out on them unceremoniously to take money down the road, now it's a big money offer, and I'd say money's been the major motivating factor. But the fact that he's walked away from the Broncos like this, I think, is alarming for the Broncos. The other question I asked Darren Lockyer is that, you know, if you've got a marquee player like this, and it was quite obvious from his teenage years that this was a very special kid, why was ever allowed that he was coming off contract? Now, Darren said they started 12 months ago to start talking to him. Well, I reckon that was 12 months too late. You know, they should have been doing this 2 years ago, you know, getting towards getting a 3 and 5 year deal done and starting to look after his welfare and starting to look after his education outside football and really manage his career and show a care factor to him. Now, you know, whether those things were done, I don't know, but the negotiation process started way too late. And by delaying it for whatever reason, whatever problems the kid had, they had to solve that. Whatever problems he had with the manager, they had to resolve that with the manager. But they had to get this done before you get to a situation where other clubs can start to talk to him and put other thoughts in his head. And they wouldn't have got to this situation. Once it got to this position and you got other people talking to him, particularly the Australian coach who's just down the road, you know, things start to change.
What are you suggesting?
Nothing.
I just find it amazing that the Broncos never lose anyone they want to lose. When was the last player they lost that they wanted to keep? It just doesn't happen.
Well, players don't walk out on the Broncos.
Exactly
no
right.
one
It doesn't
walks out on
happen.
the Broncos.
I think that goes to show with the clubs at the moment. I mean, this powerhouse club, the prestige club of the league, everything they want at their doorstep, and their best players walked out of them.
And this is a unique situation for the Broncos. You'd say, well, why would you leave a club like that to go to one down the road? Well, their club is in disarray at the moment. It's in total disarray. Performances are awful. Just going back to your situation at Manly, having won that premiership with the Sharks in 2016, would you have swapped that for any other money that you could have earned?
No, I wouldn't have. No, and it made it all worth it because 2008, Manly won the comp, then they won again in 2011. So I thought that a hell of a lot, Gus. So no, I wouldn't swap it. Yeah, and I can understand players staying at clubs for less money to win a premiership. It's worth it.
The Titans have been kicked in the head for paying that amount of money for a 20-year-old player, no matter how good he is. And you in particular, Gus, do you seem to think it's reckless spending from the Titans? I've sort of turned a little bit on it. I actually can understand it because there's not a hell of a lot of people coming off, or quality players coming off contract next year. And it just, you talk about it's a reflection of where the Broncos are that they've lost him. I think it's a reflection of where the Titans are that they have to spend that amount of money to get a player of that calibre there. They needed a kill, and Mal Meninga needed a kill in particular since he's taken over as head of culture. I understand why the Titans have done it.
Yeah, in self-interest for other people, for the survival of the club and the survival of people within the club. I mean, they did need to get a big name signed up. And I guess in time they could well justify the spend and say, OK, $1.25 million, you know, our crowds will increase, our membership might increase, our sponsorship might increase, our performances might improve, he might drag other players to the club. And if he ends up the champion that people are saying he's going to be, well, then they can go back in time and adjust that. But right at the moment, $1.25 million for a 20-year-old back rower is reckless spending, all right? And there have been a number of these over the years that have totally changed the landscape in the player market and made it hard for every other club and every other player. The expectations have become unrealistic. Now, I'll say this. Jason Taumalolo, people say, is probably one of the best forwards in the game, if not the best forward in the game. And he's on $1 million a year, all right? And, you know, and he deserves it. He's an experienced player, and for every week he's their best player. He can't help them win if he hasn't got the cattle around him. All right, and there's Jason Taumalolo. They're paying this kid at 20 years of age, all right, after 30 games, more money than Jason Taumalolo.
So, but what do they do?
And expect that that's going to change their results.
What are they supposed to do? What do they do?
I don't know what they do.
How do they dig themselves out of that?
Well,
if they can't, there's no playmakers on the market next year.
You can't cry over spilt milk because they've never put development programs in place. They've never developed their own. They've never had kids coming through the system. They've never had a David Fifita emerge in their club or anyone that's come through to play first grade. And that's why they're constantly on the spend. They're constantly trying to recruit results. And that gets very, very expensive. And you're going to make a lot of mistakes doing that as well. Because going to the Titans, the motivation is the money. And you're probably getting players that other clubs have now seen as excess to needs. and you're paying over the top for them. So you can't really get a consistent good result. I hope Fifita turns it around for them. I want the Gold Coast to succeed like no one else. I mean, I really want them to succeed, and I want them to last in this competition. And I hope it's a great thing for him, and I hope he wins them 60% of games and gets them into the finals. It's going to be very hard for a 20-year-old back rower to do that.